Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. That's
Thank you.
Okay. So that's the loan syndication I've been working on, and it's going to become a reality in the next couple of weeks or months. All right, and then as always, a reminder. So this is the Innovation Committee. We have our chair, Dom, from American Pride. What we do is we meet prior to the meetings, we select a topic, and then we prepare a topic for the next meeting. That's going to be on October 3rd at the same time, right? I mean, we're going through the list of priorities that we set up with hacking and AI deployment. Sessions have been about like AI deployment, and actually this session is going to be also about AI deployment, just on the policy. But we have a new topic that came up, which is implementing RPAs, these automation processes inside of a bank, or like bots. So probably next, we'll present this to the committee. That it's available, it's safer than AI, and can help banks inside of a quality assurance for loans, updating rates. So these processes are available, and next session. But it's a new topic that came up after the strategic meeting. With that, okay, for today is establishing a corporate AI policy. So last session, we're going through all these evaluations of should we do AI, where to do it, how to do it. But one area we think that we see on AI. So Jill from All Nations, I mean, she was kind enough to policy, and what we did is construct the policy, right? And then just kind of like highlight if you are to build your own policy for what you need to include. I mean, remember, so this is about like data. One of the problems with these AI LLM models is they consume. So this is the raw material that they use to come up with their the data security and data privacy are a big concern. So that's one of the elements. The other element, mindful of the financial regulations that apply to data privacy, but also to AI utilization, and we'll go through a couple of them. They're there, which is key for our MDI members, is financial inclusion. So again, this technology has is that it's prone to hallucinations or inaccuracies. So show leadership in terms of saying if we're going to adopt this technology, should support inclusion, right? And we'll get into some of the aspects here. And then the third is risk management, right? Because it's going to come for third-party vendors. So how do we deal with that? So as we said, right? I mean, so the raw material of the AI is always the data that exists inside of our financial institutions. And the idea is to give them a policy to guide us on how to keep this data private, if they are allowed to use an AI agent, right? Policy in place before this is available. It also creates an audit, because the other thing that we want to have is this control on who used what when, and should trace and what when it was used. So if there are like any problems, and just create transparency in the use of the technology. And then if something fails, well, we need to have like some procedures in so that we can address those and just give feedback to you so that just gets better. From a compliance perspective, I mean, there were like some pronunciations on customer-facing applications. FINRA is the one that has done a little bit more of a guide technology, and then obviously banking, all the regulation that covers data privacy applies, especially technology. So we just need to be mindful of that. And then, as I said, I mean, probably these policies should sit at the board level, because this is where you can show that you're committed to a use that's inclusive for all the constituencies that you service, right? I mean, so it should be safe, fair, and compliant, and this should be at the board level so that the organization feels and obviously it's aligned on the best use of the technology. So we need to combat the bias that's probably inherent and use the tools to identify and fix any of those errors that could come from the use of the technology. And then the last one is on risk management. So obviously we need to have like the best practices on how to use the technology, how to integrate the technology, what vendors need to have when they're like offering us a tool to do AI and do this and do that, right? I mean, so this really applies to data exchange and data privacy as well. Okay, so just getting into more details, right? So what do you include on your AI policy? So in our view, I mean, the first thing you need to do is just nominate somebody, right? I mean, that's going to be the person that's going to be responsible for the policy and is going to drive the policy. We need to set up the basics, the terminology, so that it's clear to everybody what's included in the policy. You have to have some organizational controls. We'll get to that. What's allowed, what's not allowed. You have to have some like audit controls, right? Like, so who did what when. These ethical considerations on biases, making sure that the technology is working well, and then third-party risk controls. So this should be 2, 4, 6, 7 kind of sections on your policy. Right? From a personnel perspective, so the person that's going to be responsible is responsible for like training, assessment, point of report, right, on any incident that happens related to the use of the AI inside of a bank. I mean, so this is the person that has to do the follow-up. Could be on the IT side or could be on the operation side. And then just craft a little bit of these strategies, like why we're using this, what do we want to accomplish with the use of technology. The best use cases that we have seen are for customer service or for like explaining what the product is and in a pre-sales type of situation. So we just need to be like very clear on what are the use cases and what success looks like for those use cases. Then the next one is the definition of all the terms, right? I mean, so what's ChatGPT, what's Gemini, what's LLM, what's a robotic process. So all these different aspects and technologies that exist there should be listed, right? So like we all understand, if I say an LLM, you know what it is. If I say robotic process, I mean, everybody knows what it is. And then just give the examples, right? I mean, of the technology that's being used and leveraged. The third one will be the mapping of the operations that are impacted by the use of AI, in case this is allowed and goes forward inside of the bank. So exactly what's the process that is going to leverage this AI technology? Let's say it's customer service. So this like first point of contact for the customer is going to be done first by the chatbot. Perfect. So what we want is to reduce the time to like first contact, and then try to maybe handle a couple of cases, and if not, then it goes to a customer representative. Now, all these use cases should be delineated as part of the policy. Right? We also need like a backup protocol. Let's say the technology is not working well for whatever reason. So what are we going to do? How do we switch on and switch back on? Right? I mean, this technology, if we lose the chat, if we lose this means of communication, what's going to be the backup protocol, and what actions and strategies we're going to take in terms of like restoring the service or allowing for an alternative way of solving the problem. Then the next one is on safety, right? I mean, so it's also critical because it like speaks to what platforms the bank is comfortable using. As you know, I mean, nowadays there are like many competing LLMs, so you can use the one that's presented to you by Microsoft in the Copilot. You can use the one that's on the web, but ChatGPT. You can go to X and use Grok, or you can use Google and use Gemini. So there are many competing technologies now. Some of them are better suited for kind of like banking use. So I'll just give you an example. We met with IBM, and they have their Watson AI LLM. And what IBM is saying is that if you use their LLM, they'll warranty, from a legal perspective, any misuse of the technology. So what they're saying is, if the thing hallucinates or gives bad advice, they'll pay for whatever legal consequences that has. So again, there's going to be a point of differentiation from the vendor perspective in terms of like which ones are better suited for a financial institution environment, where there are like many rules and regulations that we have to be mindful, versus just general access, where everybody can go to the web and just like use it to play with. Right? So the ones that we want to highlight is, in case there is one instead of a bank, then should allow for kind of a data into the chat, right? And so no personal information should be allowed there, and we should be using tools to kind of like filter this type of situations. Then also it comes back to the audit, right? So we need to be able to see if like somebody used the tool, like when was that, what was the context, in case there are like any thing that we need to investigate. Right? So having an activity logging system, so you can log all the activity, all the login, log out, and then the things that were like prompted into the chat. This is important to have. So we found this vendor, which is like Userfront, that kind of like regulates what goes into the chat, and also regulates how do you log in and log out of this LLM. So at least you can keep track of what's going on inside of your organization in terms of AI usage. And the last one is, as we mentioned, right? So from an ethics perspective, is we know that this technology is not exact, and this could be not accurate. So we need to align it to make it sure it's safe and fair and compliant with the values of the organization, right? And this same policy should apply to third-party vendors, right? So this policy allows you to present the values of organization to a third party and say, as long as your solutions helping us meet the values that we are and the quality of service that we want for our constituency, then perfect. I mean, let's use your technology, right? If not, well, I mean, probably this is not the best technology for our use case. And then finally, it's good to delineate what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? I mean, if currently there hasn't been a selection of a technology, probably said like, well, I mean, unfortunately, the use of AI instead of an institution is not permitted at this time, right? And we'll work on trying to find use cases where we're going to allow this to happen. I mean, the use case should be like very specific and should have all these considerations in terms of like no personal information being fed to the LLM, and then traceability in terms of who log in, log out, what was the prompt that was presented to the LLM, and what was like the output that you had on the query. So those are like considerations for. And then the final consideration is on third party, same time. I mean, so if the bank is deciding to go forward, just be mindful of the third party vendor audit requirements, right? And should be the same as with any other vendor that you're using. It should be clear on the policy. So I mean, so this is this came as part of the conversation. It's like, hey, should we have a policy first in place? And we thought that was like key. I mean, before getting into the details of where are we going to use it, is let's build first like the framework on how we're going to deploy this technology. Starting probably with saying at this point we're not ready to deploy it, right? Until we find the use case, the vendor, and the application that gives us comfort that we can have all these like safety controls in place so that this technology supports our mission. All right. So next, we have a special guest, XDAI. XDAI is a technology firm that's going to show us a particular use case that they have developed for using AI on the compliance side. Gino is here. So Gino, if what I can do is just give you maybe just stop sharing here, and then I can pass it over to you. And then just 1 second. Stop sharing. Gino, are you on?
I think Gino fell off.
Oh,
Okay, hang on. Let me contact Gino.
okay.
1 second.
No worries. I actually have it here. So let me see if let me share then.
Hey, how are you? I was on Zoom. They booted me off and I'm in the waiting room.
Can you pull him in from the waiting room?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Suresh.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Hi, Gino.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. Welcome, welcome. So I think you can go ahead and share, Gino.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Geez, Zoom crashed and then kicked me out.
No worries. I know, Suresh, you want to just introduce the tool that you guys created? I mean, it was
Sure.
Let's
Let
see.
me give an overview to the members here. So, all of you are by now familiar with large language models. You also know by design they are probabilistic, which means you ask them the same question 10 times, you're likely to get at least 5 to 10 different answers, similar answers. So they're not built for precision. Why? Because they're probabilistic, that's their design. There's a probability distribution underneath, and that's the way it is going to be. There is nothing you can do to make them say the same thing every time. It's almost impossible. That's the design. So what did we do? Banking is a business where you have to have auditability, explainability, and you need to have repeatable, similar answers to do, tasks in banking. Anytime you want to share the video, please do. Right. So, maybe we'll show you what we have done for enterprises, including banking. So,
Thank you, Suresh. Can you all hear the video?
Yeah, and kind of like before you go into the video, Gino, hi, I'm Sujit Ram from CBW Bank, and this is a couple of use cases that we have implemented at CBW Bank, and we just recently started implementing, and we have a couple of our users going through how they used XDAI to help them with their work.
yeah. Then let me say one more sentence, guys. This is going to sound like science fiction, but you've seen science fiction movies where somebody's on a spaceship and they talk to the spaceship and say, "Hey, what's going on?" It says, "Door number 3, there's a problem. I'm fixing it." You heard, you hear those things. Not kidding. In a couple of years, we'll be there in the bank. We'll literally be able to say, how is the bank doing? How is the vendor due diligence doing? How is this doing? And this is going to be a centralized place where it's going to actually get it done for you and give you responses. So, but this is the first step towards that.
Can you all hear from your end?
No, I think you have to
No.
go to advance and then advanced share and then include the sound.
Maybe, Gino, you can talk it through.
Mhm.
Yep.
To the National
You all
Bankers
can hear now, right?
Yeah, she's talking.
I'm
Yeah,
Sandra Jackson,
perfect.
along with Sutitra and Efi, and we're excited to show you how CBW leverages XDAI to dramatically simplify both policy creation and compliance review. Over the next 5 minutes or so, we'll walk you through some real-world scenarios, complete with supporting videos to demonstrate how easy it is to go from source document to actionable policy and from policy to compliance assurance.
My name is Ify Northworthy. I'm the IT specialist here at CBW Bank. First, I would like to talk about running compliance reviews on existing policies. So, let's begin with an example we are all familiar with. A loan policy review will be a good start. So, the loan policy review is uploaded and XDAI reads the policy and automatically creates metadata and relationships between the entities to have a better understanding of the document going forward. Next, we run the policy against a checklist created from the FDIC guidelines. Then, what XDAI does next is it creates a report that outlines where this example loan policy is compliant and where it is non-compliant, with citations guiding where additional attention is needed. So next, it suggests the next best actions. We can also generate a credit memo and board report as downstream activities. So recently, I wanted to verify the policy against a checklist to confirm compliance. The longer the policy, the longer this will take, as the time it takes is increased by each additional item in your checklist. So CBW has dozens and dozens of policies. Some of them are hundreds of pages long. So let me share what we did for our IT audit policy. First, we created a checklist. We uploaded FFIC guidelines on IT audits to create a checklist that will be run against our policies. Secondly, we uploaded the policy. We uploaded an earlier version of CBW's IT audit policy into XDAI without specifying the tab. So, the smart recognition and metadata extraction is where XDAI recognizes it as an IT audit document and it pulls out policy sections, control objectives, and other relevant items. So now we select Run Against Checklist. We choose the checklist we've just created from the FFIEC guidelines, and XDAI cross-references every policy section against each checklist item and points out the area where we need additional attention. A checklist in our local drive or in cloud storage can now be stored in XDAI to review against future changes of our policy. As a quick thought experiment, if you have one checklist item, your review time is roughly your own reading speed. So if you have your checklist item, now your review time is determined on how long you will take to read through it or if you want to take a note. But as you scale from a single checklist item to 5 to 10 to 25 or even 100 items, the review time balloons exponentially. XDAI collapses that entire process into seconds. No more manual cross-referencing, no more missed controls. So to generate the compliance report, the system flags gaps, highlights strong controls, and produces a detailed report. To save and share, with one click, we save the report to directory, then it goes to reports, IT audit, and it's ready for management review or regulator submission. And as before, XDAI suggests next best action to simplify our downstream workflows. Thank you.
Any questions?
Now we move to policy creation support. CBW wants a robust accounts receivable policy, so we turn to multiple sources including FASB, OCC, and FFIEC as our authoritative sources. Here's an example of what we did. First, upload the source document. We uploaded the OCC Accounts Receivable and Inventory Finance Guidance into XDAI, and we did not need to define it as a handbook or regulation. Automated metadata extraction. Quickly, XDAI analyzed the file, identified it as an OCC supervisory handbook, and extracted every critical piece of metadata: chapter titles, key topics, regulatory citations, and risk categories. 3. Suggested next actions. Without prompting, the system recommended logical follow-up steps, like generating checklists or mapping to existing CBW policies. Next, our next move was to click Generate Checklist. In seconds, XDAI produced a skeleton outline covering eligibility criteria for AR financing, required documents controls, collateral monitoring procedures, periodic review, and exception tracking. You'll see that the checklist populates our Documents folder under Directory Checklists. From there, we can download it, saving hours of work and ensuring nothing critical is overlooked, all driven by regulatory guidance. And that's how CBW uses XDAI to drastically reduce policy drafting time, ensure 100% coverage of regulatory requirements, automate compliance checks against any number of controls, maintain a single source of truth in our secured directory. And all of this is accomplished within a
So yeah, the main takeaway there is these are users describing their experience in using the product to save themselves time. Are there questions from the audience?
So I can start, Gina and Suresh. So this solution before, right? I mean, so in light of kind of like the policies, banks will have, that will kind of like apply to this as an AI provider. What would you say your safeguards are in terms of data privacy, right? So all these policies that where they're going to reside, what security like somewhere else, and then just the software in general. I mean, what kind of certifications you have?
Yeah, so great question. What we're basically doing in short is extending our approach to NetXD's core capabilities in the ledger and payments hub, and then building that into the AI world. And echo, I saw for the first time today that you were sharing, Miguel. So since we all are in a regulated environment, want this AI-driven compliance to be built with bank-grade security and do that. So one, there's a zero trust security model. Every AI request that you saw when the user is typing in items, when they're uploading a document, when they're downloading a document, is logged by default, mirroring the verify everything. From a certification standpoint, NetXD is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We tokenize every piece of data, ensuring compliance with banking regulations. Inputs and prompts, these are never used to train an external model. XDAI sits on top of a series of models, many of those that you mentioned earlier, Miguel, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or so on and so forth. We're very much model agnostic. And this is full auditability. So every AI every analysis leaves and we can walk you through that stuff on the back end. Suresh? Suresh, I believe you're muted.
We serve banks and Visa as a global partner, so we're already bank-grade security in everything we do, and we were able to introduce zero trust security. You should please, and I don't want to go into it, but please look up zero trust security. It's the highest form of security today available in the industry. So, any other questions?
Mhm. And by the way, if you want to just the questions here in the chat, we'll compile those and we'll include them as part of the presentation. And by the way, if there are like any other questions about just the innovation community in general, obviously I have seen a couple of comments that just about the deck. So we're going to go ahead and share the PowerPoint presentation to everybody. It's part of the invite, so you'll have that. We're also going to share a summary of what we covered today, and we're going to share as well Gino's contact information, right? In case you want to just take a deeper look into this XDAI product. We spend probably like an hour. I mean, just looking into the details and found it like very powerful, but takes time. I mean, to really like grasp all the functionality that's there. So it was good to just do that.
I will add this for the committee here, and I know all of your bankers. One of the state banking commissioner's office invited me, and they're already evaluating AI to evaluate your policies and your documents. So it's going to be AI versus AI. So because the state examiners have this problem, they're not able to hire enough good examiners at the salaries they pay. So they're looking at automating using AI to read. When they do an examination request, document request, all that within a year is going to go directly into the AI that they're using.
Yeah. That happening. And I think one use case that we discussed was hygiene thing to do before you're getting I mean, so you can just do this yourself. I mean, so take your policies, upload the policies versus, and then just see where the gaps are, right? From your perspective, you don't need to share this with anybody else. I mean, this is something that you can do inside of the organization and prepare yourself, I mean, for
No, good.
possible.
Miguel, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say where we are going with this is even our board packet at CBW is going to be reviewed by this tool soon to make sure that it has all the reports the board packet should have, and it has all the follow-ups from the previous board meeting covered. Because a board packet has now gone to several hundred pages in a small bank, and it's very difficult even for a board member to go through all 200 pages or 150 pages and read all through all the reports. So it is percolating into every part of the bank.
Wow. Okay, that's a really good. Okay.
But they do cite you, right? You guys, bankers here know on this call, they say you didn't report this to the board. You didn't have this report in the board minutes or whatever it is. That's a very common, easy thing they cite you on.
Perfect. Okay.
Any questions from the committee?
From the members?
Any of you already using AI to manage your bank?
I don't really fully rely on AI, but I do use it. But my experience to AI is that there is always 20% error that a human being has to catch. So do you have any, example that was demo is for policy for mistake, but there are some things that this tool has some tool to address those.
Very good question. This is built exactly in the beginning when I told you LLMs will make mistakes because they're probabilistic. We had to add quite a bit of technology to make it highly deterministic and highly precise. And there's not enough time, but document that Gino uploads, it creates is showing on the screen. If you blow up, you can see it uses a technology called tokenization that we invented, one of the first ones, that creates the information inside and stores it. This is not from the LLM, this is ours. And we will start to understand every relationship between every document and every concept. When we produce a checklist or we review against a checklist, is very accurate. And we also provide citations on where we picked the information from, whether it's compliant or not compliant.
Yeah, and Gino, can you quickly show the work paper section, the citations? And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but that is what we save as our work paper for like the policy creation, the board packet review. So this is the work paper which shows that yes, this is what we used as a source, is what we reviewed, and here you go. Here is the process that we followed.
So let me answer differently. When you go to, I've seen a lot of third-party solutions. And by the way, NetXT is now working with McKinsey, is working with Visa. So these are very large companies. They would not work with us unless they think we had something. Now, when you look at any of the AI agent companies, they are essentially 99% of the work is done by ChatGPT or Gemini. And behind the scenes, they're just giving you UI. In our case, I would say the use of LLM is probably less than 30%. Are done by us. We're able to split a document, and you can even mind map it and go inside to where you want to go. This is not something that's available it's available in the most advanced version, right? So we have spent a lot of money and time solving for it to be precise and repeatable every time. And the LLM maybe contributes 30%, whereas if you talk to any other vendor that we've talked to many of them, they're all 90, 99%. They're just putting a user interface on top of ChatGPT or whatever.
Right. So could you do just like one quick example on mind mapping, right? Because that's an interesting concept.
Sure. This
right?
is
It's
very
like-
important. This is
So-
we have a product called Brain inside this, which is like thinks like a human being. So it can take a document, but a human brain can't map so many things. But our brain can map all these and remember this. And tomorrow from here, we also have what's called an entity relationship map. Gino, you want to show that? The entity relationship map maps everything, like you have a vendor who's supplying products and products are used here. Everything is mapped in the memory. We're creating what's called an institutional memory in your bank. It's like, institutional memory in CBW until recently was Paddy in VR who knew everything for the last 30 years. Everything was in her head. Today, it's all slowly moving to a system like this, where you can see each one tells you what they do, what they're doing, what are the products, who's connected to what. We're building those maps automatically. This is usually known to a few people who've been in the bank for a very long time.
Yeah.
And as we upload more and more policies and documents, we start to remember and memorialize those things in our brain.
And two follow-ups to that. The purpose of the brain at the end of the day is how do you take the probabilistic outcome of the LLM that may give you a different answer for each time you use it, similar to the question that just happened. This to a deterministic outcome. And the goal here at the end of the day is two things. One, how do we turn your team of doers into reviewers? They have expertise, they have high value activities that can be applied elsewhere. We want to remove the manual day-to-day tasks that the machines, that the technology that can do quicker. But the real metrics we focus on is how are we reducing you and your team's task time? And how are we reducing your and your team's elapsed time, like the calendar days to get things done? We want to focus the team's expertise on higher value activities, not just for the bank, but for the customers.
A different way to answer. Have you guys had trouble with errors?
Errors on what?
Has it given you, that she said 50% of the time she's had problems, right? Have you
Yeah,
had-
so this is actually a much better and more comprehensive and less iterative process for building a new policy. So before, like, what are the options, right? Either the regulation and the guidance, you go, you kind of like you draft something, you have to have somebody else go and like checklist it against the original reg, or you ask some consultant to please give you a draft policy for it. Outsource, right? You're like, okay, you know what, FDIC, I am a silly, dumb bank. I just asked a consultant at Forvis to give me a policy, and I just did a couple of little tweaks, and then the regulator whether those tweaks are okay. And we tell them, oh, we had BKD, look at this again. So that's our normal process, right? So if here you actually have the work papers saying that, well, this is my policy that I've created, and this is how document that my policy is compliant against the regulation, the guidance, etc.
But it's more than policy, right? From policy,
Yeah.
you can extract a checklist in case of a loan policy to review all your, let's say you have 5,000 loans.
Yeah.
You can take a procedure list out of your loan policy through all 5,000 loan documents and see if any of all of them have all the necessary documentation that is required.
Yes, and
You
we
can do
also
that
use
in,
that.
like, one day.
Yeah, and we're using that to build out our, because we have internal audit department, the billion-dollar bank. So we are using this to supplement a lot of like quality control activities to have a greater, right? Because independent. So yes, all of this really helps us. That question.
I'll give you guys another really crazy example. I am extremely large Fortune 100 company. They have 10,000 vendors. Just think about it. They have 10,000 vendors across 50 countries. They get at least 10,000 invoices a month. And some of the invoices have 200 line items. Okay, this is a huge task. We're going to do a trial with our platform, which can handle 10,000 plus contracts, verify tens of thousands of invoices, maybe 1 million invoices, right? Make sure every line item is accurate, and give them a saying, this guy overbilled you. This is not the amount you should be paying. We didn't talk about today is we even have an integration to a bank. We can even automatically execute payments. That's a use case for a very large company.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, so fascinated with this application. I think this is, to your point, I mean, this is a better way to build our policies and to check our policies. So I'm curious to see how more members are going to start probably leveraging it. So you have Gino's contact information. I'll send it out in the email. And well, I mean, we're a couple of minutes over time here, but I really appreciate everybody's time and attention. Gino and Suresh, thank you for participating. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.